Welcome to South of Left Field. My name is Jimmy, and I'm going to start today by making mention of a recent headline. It has to do with a gentleman who was an insurance salesman that kind of lost his mess, if you will, in a Costco. Someone asked him to put on a mask. And that got me to thinking about Karens, and it got me to thinking about videos that call out, or identify for general public individuals, say members of the KKK or white supremacist groups. And actually, the thing that struck me about all of this is that this is only really possible in this day and age. Now, you could probably tell by looking at me, I've been around a few seasons. I grew up in the 50s and the 60s. That was a time of my forming, and society at that time didn't even have remote TV channel changing. We lived at the end of a party line, and computers were mythological things, really, in the world in general. And yet today, we have a society that, using cell phones that they carry around in their pockets, we can video and call each other out for all kinds of rants and raves and misbehaviors. Sometimes people like to put a noose around their own necks. There was a couple that decided they wanted to deface a Black Lives Matter mural. And not only were they happy to see other people videotaping themselves doing it, they videoed themselves just to make it a certainty that they could be convicted of a misdemeanor with a little fine. Not going to be a good day for them. Now, here's the thing. I commented before, and I do stand by this, that in order to put an end to things that are as insidious and as widespread as, say, for example, racism, it requires education. So let's think about this gentleman in Costco. He lost his mess right there in front of his family. He threatened and cursed people in the foulest way for videoing him. His employer, this guy's an insurance salesman, right? So his employer's looking at this behavior, which is going viral, and thinking, oh yeah, we really don't want to try to use this guy as a salesman anymore. They fired him. Now, what does this mean? It means that society is policing itself. We screamed about having cameras on the police so that we could begin supervising them. And really, I think our police in this country are far too militarized, far too violent, and far too casual about their exercise in violence and bullying. They take upon themselves authorities that they don't deserve and legally shouldn't have, don't have. And in the worst of cases, they casually kill citizens just because they can. So the only real answer, besides things I know defunding the police is a big thing. Yes, we need to look at how policing is done. We need to look at what police do. We need to pull these guys in. But there's a lot of people in our society we need to pull in. Think about the Karen that filed a false police report, screaming into the phone that a black man was threatening her. Really, all this gentleman was doing was quite correctly and apparently quite pleasantly asking her to leash her dog, something that she was already supposed to have done. She's also facing prosecution. These are examples of society policing itself, folks. I look at this as a teaching opportunity. Perhaps that's the way we go about it in this modern age, something that couldn't be done in my childhood. Things that exist in our society in layers, like racism, that exists in people in layers, such as racism. It lives without overt acts. There's nothing, if you look at the way they dress, the way they talk, the way they walk, you can't tell one from the other. Racist from non-racist. And so when you see behaviors, when you can video them, when you can publicize this individual, and both the Karen in the park and this ex-insurance salesman in the Costco. Both of these people were acting in this way in public spaces where there is no guarantee of privacy whatsoever. I mean, if you want to walk out in public and you want to shine your patoot, don't be surprised if somebody takes a picture. And I'm sorry, but I don't think you got a leg to stand on saying they don't have a right to do it, because you're out there shining it your own doggone self. This gentleman, whether he learns a lesson or not, it's entirely possible that his children may learn something from it. It's a harsh way to learn, but by golly, if you can't set an example of civility, if you can't set an example of valuing the life of your fellow Americans, if you can't set an example of being a conscientious member, citizen of America, and behaving accordingly, then you do need to be called out. It's called education. And we do need that education. Our children need that education. We all need that education. Now, my last video was on purity spirals, and this has the possibility of becoming another purity spiral itself. I mean, anything can be taken too far. The threat of educating someone for misbehavior can be taken too far. So, I'm just a person who believes in moderation, but I'm also a person who believes in reality. You know, since racism seems to be the thing I'm touching on the most here, you see that skin? You know why I have it? Why it's this color? Because my ancestors lived in a temperate environment where there wasn't that much sunlight, where, there was misty areas, where the hours of sunlight were lessened, the sunlight was less direct, and our skin produces vitamin D, which is vital for our health. So in order to get more vitamin D, I got light skin, which brings along the possibility of skin cancers. That's beside the point. But the point here is, that's the only reason skin's that color. Anybody who thinks there's something special about this, the only thing special about this skin color, is that it tells me I don't need to go into tropical climates because it's not going to be good for my health. That's all it does. That is the beginning and the end of the evolutionary color of my skin. And that's all it counts for. Does it make me superior? Darned if I think so. What about people who do think it makes them superior? Well, you're paddling a mighty small canoe in a great big ocean if you got to hang something on the color of your skin to feel valuable. No, science, common sense, education, these are things that we need. And videos for people who insist on believing that they're all that when they're not. People who believe that they have a right to endanger their fellow citizens. Pardon my tripping tongue. But I think we need to keep this video business up. I think we all need to be aware of it. Because I don't know about you, my mama told me I needed to be polite. And there are a few things that can help keep the waters calm more than simple consideration, kindness, and politeness. And in order to accomplish that, we all have to be aware that we share space on the face of this planet. We share citizenship in this country. And we should take care of one another and give each other space. I don't want to force somebody to sit south of left field with me. I mean, if you're bound and determined to be on one of these two big teams that I like to poke at, knock yourself out. And no, I'm not going to videotape you if you do it. Unless you do it in a worthy way that deserves to be videotaped. So this will be my short one for today. I do appreciate you listening, and I hope you will consider subscribing. I would like to see this, shared, and it could be an interesting dialogue. to consider the possibility that it is our responsibility to police each other to a degree, and egregious misbehavior should be identified. Because people who behave egregiously haven't been taught not to by their parents, apparently. If you want to have a hissy fit in the middle of the floor, be you 3 or 33, well, watch out for the videos.